Good morning, Renee. I've got your daily job briefing ready with 11 new opportunities that came in overnight.
Hear that? That's Renee's job search basically running itself. Renee Romero is a senior UX and product designer who was laid off from her government role. Like a lot of job seekers right now, she hit a wall. The market felt brutal, job boards were chaotic, and she was spending over an hour and a half personalizing her resume for a single job, all without getting traction. So she went out and built an agentic AI job search system using N8N, Notion, and Claude that automates all of the most exhausting parts of the job search, finding roles, scoring them for fit, even matching referral contacts to new openings and personalizing her application materials. It helped her go from tracking around 10 companies to monitoring 55 for new roles. It cut her personalization down from about an hour and a half to 15 minutes per application. And the entire process saves her over 5 hours every week. The best part, she's not some engineer with a technical background. In fact, in just a few minutes, you'll hear her rate her technical expertise as a 2 out of 10. In this episode, she breaks down exactly how the whole system works, shows you how she built it, and gives you the full framework so you can steal it, implement it in your job search, and make this whole process a million times easier. Let's get started. So Renee, before you built this system, what did job searching feel like to you on a day-to-day basis?
It was dread. I would wake up in the morning and, have to check a number of, job boards and email alerts, but I just really wanted to avoid it. But when I did look, it was just real chaotic. I had, obviously I just mentioned the several different job boards, the emails that would come and clutter my inbox, and just manually having to check companies' career pages and then trying to remember, if I had already applied somewhere. So, and then the resume tailoring just took me an hour and a half per application just to make sure that it really felt really good about producing something and submitting something. And then, I would always feel really just guilty because I didn't feel like I was ever doing enough. And then imposter syndrome, sets in, and, you just feel like deflated and just exhausted before you even get started. And this really just kind of ties in to how it all started. And I think it would really be helpful for others because I really didn't know where to begin. Because I'll tell you, this was also part of, it started with fear, a sense of urgency, and just kind of that monumental battle to face. And part of it, as a UX designer, part of it is from Jacob Nielsen. He's I'd call him the godfather of UX. I get his newsletters, and one of them was, he's predicting that we'll hit, the super intelligence era by 2030. I actually think it'll be sooner, but he writes how designers, who don't adapt will become non-hireable. And after my layoff, that just really hit hard. So I also had to, retrain my brain because I knew what the dark path looked like, and I did not want to go there again. Mm-hmm. So I had to flip the script and start to reframe and view this job loss as a blessing. And I came from government work where I had, design tools and AI restrictions that were actually holding me back from my career growth. And that's something that I recognized. So I really, it was at a time where I really wanted to do something different. And I had been reading and watching YouTube videos like yours. Has been very inspirational in terms of using ChatGPT and how to apply those to, resumes and tailoring your cover letters or anything else like that. So, but it's just, there are others also who teach AI anything. You just go find it and look and read and put this in your brain and learn. But I really just didn't know where or how to start. So the other thing as a designer is I knew I didn't have any AI case studies in my portfolio, and I needed to somehow address that. So I asked myself, a question that we designers commonly ask in a usability test is, hey, if you had a magic wand, what would you want? What do you want it to do? What do you want it? How do you want something to function? Or do you want to remove something? So that was part of it. And then I also knew the things that I needed to do. I mean, you've got to define a list of target companies and figure out if a job is a good fit. You know, you've got to leverage the referrals, you know, which drives back to your content and how most people get hired. So, and then you've got the tailoring of the resume and the cover letter for each application. And it's just draining. But there are all these parts and pieces. And then I knew I had to incorporate all of these things somehow. And I didn't know how to do it and pull it all together.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I just described really became the prompt. So in a chat, I typed, you know, here's what I need to accomplish, have no idea how to build it. Where do I start? And
And
that's
you use ChatGPT for that, or what like when you said you typed it into a chat, like
Mhm.
what did you use to do that?
Well, I started with ChatGPT.
Okay.
I at least spent about 3 to 4 weeks, probably closer to 4 weeks, learning the different LLMs and the knowledge transfer and not losing the context of what you're doing. So it was, anyway, I ended up sticking with Claude, and that was my
Nice.
best friend and still is.
I love it. I love it. And you're doing stuff that is near and dear to my heart, and that I wish every job seeker would do, which is a trying to keep up with the skill sets that are in demand. And I think especially now it's never been more obvious in, you know, the last decade. AI is almost a universal skill for folks. And what better way to learn it than to use it? And so, you know, for somebody like me, I've done that in my business, but not everybody has a business. And so if you're job searching, it's such a great opportunity to leverage it, because there's so many aspects of the job search that benefit from the supplement of AI. And then to your point, not having that case study, we always say if you don't have experience, go try to build it yourself. And
Mhm.
the job search is a great way to do that. So now you have this case study that I know you're working on right now, which is basically just case studying your job search as you go through it. And so you're turning this process, which is grueling, exhausting, frustrating for so many people, and you're taking it and you're turning it into like a triple win, which is awesome. So you have this really cool AI system that you've built, and I'd love to understand the benefits of it, you know, the before and after, the hidden benefits, if you will, the cost of time breakdown, those types of things, so we can share with people like what all this work led to for you.
So, in terms of, you know, the before and after, it's really this slide shows the impact here. So, before I was maybe tracking, you know, 10 companies, being generous. Now I'm monitoring 55 companies across 3 different tiers. I had job alerts cluttering my inbox. Now 0. They're no longer necessary. My resume tailoring, you know, used to take me an hour and a half per application. Now it's 15 minutes reviewing an AI draft. And the referral contacts, like I used to rely just on memory and would forget who I knew and where. So now the system automatically matches my contacts to the new open roles. So it really just went from chaos to control.
Nice.
Um, these are some of kind of like the unexpected wins that I would say, and the hidden benefits. So these benefits really weren't part of my original plan. But honestly, the mental health impact really surprised me. Like the dread now became anticipation. You know, I actually look forward to checking, you know, my job search now. Avoidance became engagement. Chaos became control. That guilt spiral of I should be doing more, you know, turned into clarity because the system is doing the work, and you know, decision fatigue, it's gone. But the data tells me which jobs to prioritize, and I really didn't expect building this system to change how I feel about the process, but it really did.
It's so cool. Like the hidden benefits really lean into something that I'm a big believer in, which is when we can, like, this is what AI is for. It's not a replacement for you. It's not a copy and paste and not have to do any work, but it is taking the things that frustrate us, that really drain our energy, and offloading them so that you can save your time, your energy for the things that bring you energy, you know, relatively speaking, in the job search. But then also the things that you feel like align with your strengths and that are really going to move the needle. So I'm so glad that you shared this in addition to just the tangible benefits, which are amazing as well. I mean, the resume personalization, like efficiency is crazy. And the number of companies that you're tracking, like it's so cool. But I think this is the piece that really is the win for folks, is getting that time and energy back in a process that's so grueling, that's so exhausting. So I appreciate you sharing that. And then in terms of, the cost and the time and all of that, do you have some information around that so people kind of understand what that looks like?
Sure. So, a lot of people want to know, what does this cost to run? And so bottom line, it's about $70 a month. So I have their stack, which is for the job data, and that's $59 a month. I've got the N8N cloud, which is about $8. API usage, both for Claude and OpenAI, that's the text to speech, and that runs about $3. So in return, I save roughly 2 hours per application. And if I apply to 10 jobs a month, that's about 20 hours saved. That's just a one-time investment. So the system runs on autopilot now.
And not only is it a one-time investment for the benefit of the job search, like outputs that you're getting, but the amount of like the new skills that you built doing this, I mean, what we talked about earlier, right? Like now you can, I mean, if you spend that amount of time learning any skill, that can go on your resume with confidence. And the case study, that you're building out, like now you have that AI case study, and you can speak to it with confidence. It's not like we took one certification that took you like half an hour to complete, and you're like, yeah, I know AI now. It's like, no, you went and you did this, which is so cool. So I think the next thing that people get stuck on, when they hear this investment, Claude, APIs, these types of things, is, am I able to do this? Because most people are not technical. The biggest barrier for most people is viewing this as overwhelming or thinking they're not technical. So I'd love to ask you about that. My first question in that vein would just be kind of rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of like technical proficiency, with 0 being, you lived under a rock for the last decade, and 10 maybe being like some senior software engineer at a Fortune 500 company. Like, where would you put yourself on that scale?
I mean, pretty low, like maybe 2.
Okay. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. And that's huge, because being a 2 and being able to build this is amazing. And I want to talk more in a second about how you did that. But then what was your experience with AI before this? Obviously, AI is like still fairly new for all of us, but there's
Mhm.
a spectrum there, right? There's the person who uses ChatGPT kind of like Google or every now and then, all the way up
Yeah.
to sort of the industrial commercial applications and everything in between. And so like, not necessarily on a scale of 1 to 10, but maybe just more like from a qualitative standpoint, like how were you using AI before you decided to build this whole thing out?
I mostly use like Chat GPT, Gemini, and Claude, just primarily for like brainstorming and for writing. I've also used Descript and more recently HeyGen for creating videos, but and just a few other Gen AI tools, but nothing really technical. Like this was really the project that was my first time using AI to actually build something from scratch.
Great. So for people who want to build this out, I think the first question is, what are the right tools? There's so many AI tools out there. If you're scrolling LinkedIn, like I am every day, you see the infographic and it's like, here are 30 AI tools that you need to do X, Y, and Z. And you're just like, 30 tools, that's insane. And so what were the main tools that you used to build this out? Just so other people are aware and can explore them for themselves.
Sure. So there are 6 tools in they call it a tool stack, and I'm also brushing up on my developer jargon. That's part of what you learn with this process. But I really didn't know what the tools were to begin with. But because I had no clue how all the architecture worked with this entire system. But N8N Cloud is the platform. That's the automation engine. The Notion is where I get my databases, and that's where it shows all the jobs. It's where I have like my profile, the contacts, all that stuff lives there. And then there's their stack, which is the API that I have to use, where I get those jobs from, and that pulls into my database. The Claude API is another thing, and those are for generating the referral messages if I want to go through the messages, and or the application material, so the resume and the cover letter. And then you've got the OpenAI TTS, that's the text to speech or the audio file for those audio briefings that come to me in the morning. And then I've got my Gmail, that's the API, and those are for all the email deliveries that are part of it. So it's 6 things.
Awesome. And just to add from my side, what I love about N8N is that it makes a lot of the complexity that you just talked about simple. Like the Google API is just like you go in and you sign into Gmail in N8N and the connection is made. So there's not even like you don't even have to know what an API is or how to code or anything. It's literally just like signing in the same way you would to log into Gmail itself. So super cool. And 6 tools is really straightforward, nice and clean. That's awesome. And so I'd love to, I guess what we haven't touched on as well, which might be helpful, is just kind of walking us through the stepwise process of what the automations and the workflows do. We can obviously, we'll check them out one at a time, but just at a high level, like the first one does X, the second one does Y, like what does this whole system do step by step? And what is that, automating for you?
So really, this first workflow is about it's auto fetching jobs, but this is just to give anyone who has never been on N8N, this is what they call it, a canvas. That's what it looks like. And these little squares or parts of this with the wirings in between, those are called nodes. And basically, when you double click on them, they'll open up and then you have to configure them. And obviously, I don't know how to configure them. So that's where you take screenshots and I say, Claude, help me with this. I don't know what to plug in here. And it'll help you. So I've also...
I just want to pause on that quickly because this is how I do it as well. And I'm so glad that you brought it up. But for folks who are watching, it can be intimidating to open one of these nodes and look at it and be like, what do I even say? So your method is to have Claude open in another window, another screen. You take a screenshot, you send it to Claude, and you just say, hey, what do I put in here? Is that roughly aligned?
Exactly. Yes. Okay. I'll take, sometimes it wants the screenshot of the entire canvas because if we're having some connections and we delete something, because we do have to test and fix and start all over again sometimes, but don't worry, I've gone through all that. You don't have to. It's all right here. But yeah, definitely the screenshots are helpful. There's no way I could describe what's going on in that node and the verbiage there. Like it's just too technical for me. I have no clue what it's saying, what it needs. So, but I've also added some of these annotated, boxes up here right above the nodes to describe what each one of these are doing. I've also tried to rename the nodes too. So below it'll try to also give you another description, but really it goes from left to right. And some of these workflows will be different, but really this first one is, again, it's just auto fetching jobs. And I have this first node that runs every morning at 5:40 a.m. It pulls the job postings from my 55 target companies using their Stack API, and it checks if they're already in my database, and if they're new, it adds them to Notion. So I wake up and the jobs are already there.
Nice. Very cool. And so once the jobs make their way into Notion, what happens next?
Yeah, so let me go to the next workflow.
Sure.
Okay, so workflow number 2 is the relevance scoring. So this is where, 5 minutes later at 5:45, this scores every new job, sorry. And then it looks at the company tier, the salary, remote status, and how many contacts I have there. So the higher score means a better fit. So no more like gut feel. It's all based on data. It's data-driven decisions.
I love it. And this is exactly what we tell our clients to do, is not just go with vibes, but truly, have an objective system for understanding, is this role worth my time, to go apply, to go network, to go invest in. So I love that this is basically the second step in your process right after finding the company. So amazing. So now we've scored the companies. What's the next step?
So the next step is it's workflow 3, which matches, the contacts and the links to the companies. So this one's like the referral engine, and it will cross-reference, every job against my LinkedIn contacts, and then it links anyone who works at that company. So now I know exactly who to reach out to.
Amazing. And so is there what's the process when I have shared stuff like this, the number one question I get is, how do you know that the contacts are the right contacts? How do you know that they are aligned with the company, that they work there, that, all that good stuff. So do you have checks in place for that, or how are you handling that here?
So that was something that when I received output, when I initially did set this up, it thought that the job role that was new was also the job role of my contact. So I had to we had to, Claude and I fought some to get it right. So now it understands that yes, this person does work at the same company, but they not necessarily have the same job title or job role, or even the same team as where this new job is. So
Mhm.
it understands that. It knows how to account for that, and it will create the message based on that.
Awesome. Awesome. Super cool. What's next?
This one is the fourth workflow, and this one generates the outreach and the application materials. And this is the most complex one, and I have to show this one different ways because it's differently triggered.
Mhm.
It's not time based at all. So but this is just kind of what the workflow looks like as is. But next,
Most complex, but most helpful, I think, like doing
yes,
doing the
for
most heavy
sure.
lifting.
Yes. So this is an image of my jobs database, and the trigger is based on the decision here. So you have the decision column, and then in any of these cells, if I click on it, I'll get one of four options, and one is reaching out, will apply, won't apply, or undecided. So it's based on really reaching out or will apply. So just kind of keep that in the back of in the back of your mind.
Sure.
So in terms of looking at this workflow, you have the top path, which is when I have contacts at that company, it will write a warm outreach message. The middle path here is, when I have no contacts, it'll write a friendly, cold outreach message. And the bottom path here is when I actually decide to apply to that job. So this one will generate a tailored resume and a cover letter for the job description. And I added the cover letter mostly because I think it may be another way to help stand out from the crowd, because usually people don't affix, a cover letter to their job application materials. It's generally just the resume. So I think that would also just be a way to stand out from the crowd. So, and why not? Like it does it
Exactly.
for you.
Exactly. With AI doing it for you, I mean, there's no reason not to.
Mm-hmm. And this is just another visual of the fourth workflow without, the path. I mean, without the sectioning off the paths. It just has all of the annotated parts and pieces to it and what everything is doing.
Awesome. Awesome. And then all this gets consolidated and sent to you, right?
Yes. So the next workflow, we have the fifth one, which is the morning briefing. And this is the one you just heard. This is in my inbox at 6 a.m. It summarizes all the new jobs that I have. It converts those jobs into an audio, and that's when it uses the OpenAI, the TTS pool, and then it emails it to me. So I just listen to it while I stretch in the morning. I do work out in the morning. So when I'm stretching, I just turn it on and I just hear it. And that's how my day starts.
Nice. And we heard it at the beginning of the video, but the text to speech, like the speech stuff is great. I mean, it sounds like you're basically listening to a podcast. It's really, really, really awesome. And then I imagine, and this is something I wanted to touch on, but errors and issues are going to happen, either in like as you're building it out, or you could have everything working perfectly, but then something in the input, something in the data, maybe somebody updates their API or something else, and there's an issue. And if you don't catch that, sometimes, I guess you would know because the briefing wouldn't come, but sometimes, you might not realize, and now you're getting incorrect data or it's not coming through. And so two-part question. The first is, before you built everything out, because I do know you have some error notification stuff set up. But when you ran into an error like mid build, how did you handle that? Like, did you go back and forth with Claude? Did you take the screenshot that you mentioned earlier? Like, what was your process for dealing with those errors? Because every single person watching this video who decides to go do something with this is going to run into an error at some point, and just knowing how to get around it, I feel like is really helpful.
I would address it right away, because if you just let it be, I mean, and you don't do anything, it could really, it's kind of like a domino effect. So if something is wrong, like the rest of the workflow or the system or the automation, it will impact and it won't function properly.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to really, I mean, unfortunately, you're probably like juggling a lot of different things at the same time, but attend to it and take screenshots, ask Claude, hey, this is what I got. This is an error. This is what didn't happen, or help me. So
I
yeah.
love, yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned that. The first like three workflows I built ever, this is one thing that to like with ChatGPT that I don't like about how it handles this, but it gives you all the steps. So I was like, great, I'm just gonna go build out all the steps because ChatGPT told me. And it's like confident as it always is, right? It's like, yes, like this is the next step. It's gonna work perfectly. So I built the whole thing out and I ran it, and there was like one error, and I was like, oh, one error, no big deal. I'll fix that. So I fixed it, and then it was like error, 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 and it's just like the whole thing was broken. And so now I have the same principle that you do, where like I will not move on to the next step or node until like the input works, the step works, and the output looks perfect. Because then by the time you get to the end, like everything works in tandem and in sync. So that is a great call out. But then for the second part, if there's a change in the data or some sort of issue that the workflows can't handle or something, how do you get notified about that?
So that's going to be the final workflow. And this is the sixth one, which is very simple. It's just two nodes. But basically this, it's really simple, but it's important. So if any of those workflows fail, I automatically get an email immediately. And then I just, then I go to Claude and start asking, hey, help me
What
with
happened?
this thing. But either way, like it gives me peace of mind that I've got the system running, and or if it's not, it'll tell me.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. So I'd love to see this in action. Like if you're open to it, do you think we could do a little bit of a demo to kind of see what happens when we run this thing?
Sure, sure. So this is the fourth workflow, and really we have the three paths. So, and they all start from this decision column here. And if I say, yeah, I want to apply for the Google DeepMind. Let's say I want to reach out to my contacts there, or I don't have a contact at DeepMind. So I'm going to go to my outreach log, and you'll see it populate here because I just selected reaching out. It'll take under a minute, usually, about regarding the message to appear in this outreach log, but you'll see the job appear, and then you'll see a message appear as well. And basically what I can do once this populates through is copy that message, and then I can go find, someone who is close to that role at that particular company, and then send and tailor this a little bit more, and tweak it, but at least I have, something to start with. But
For
this
sure.
is the message that just popped up. And I do want to actually show you another thing too that's really awesome. And obviously that my connection strength too, because I have nobody there, no contact there, it's going to be on the light. So I do have the connection strengths as light, medium, and a strong.
Cool.
So let me just go back to jobs. These are my jobs here. So I have and contacts here, I can obviously clearly see, but if I want to reach out to those contacts, I'm going to click reaching out here. And then I can go back to my outreach log. So I know I have 5 contacts at Google, and what this will do is produce a message for every single of those contacts.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. And it'll tell you too, like this is going to be a light connection here. This is a light message here. Another light one. I do have a stronger connection there. But and all of these are all different. Like, I hope you're doing well. I came across, an opening for a staff UX designer versus like, hey, Leandro, hope you're doing well at Google. I know you're in interaction design, but I saw there's a staff, da, 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 you know.
Yeah, so
Um,
it tailors to the strength of the connection and, adjust the language
yeah.
accordingly, which is great.
And now let's say, okay, I'm going to go back to my jobs. And so let's say I'm going to change this to apply. So if I go to, it's not my outreach log anymore. So now I got to go to my applications material. And what'll happen here is it's going to give me the name of the job that I'm applying for. It's going to give me a resume summary. So we have an evaluation that's part of these materials. So the resume and the cover letter has like an agent that corrects and addresses and scores its own first draft
Nice.
before it produces a second one.
Nice.
So this one does take a little bit longer, but it'll also include the evaluation score, and you can see how it scores itself. But generally, what I can do is, again, I'm here, and obviously we want to be responsible AI. So all the stuff, all the output that it provides to me, the content, I can still tweak it to where I want. And just if I don't want that in my resume and it produces something, I still have that control. So it's really an awesome way to apply now.
I love it. I love it.
Here's the resume summary, and then it's scoring that summary. So here's an 8 out of 10, a 9 out of 10 on specificity, or keywords, it's 8 out of 10. And you could just, I mean, it just tells you here like all the bullet points I can use in my resume. And I don't know if I had mentioned this, but in my LinkedIn series, I did say that I switched to instead of a chronological resume, it's now functional. So now it's just a matter of what my value is in terms of how I can put that up front versus
Mhm.
where I've been.
Got it. Got it. Nice.
I'm going to go back to my workflow one, and this is going to kick off everything. So I'm going to execute this workflow, and it'll automatically, you can see these nodes working and functioning. It's fetching jobs from their stack, splitting the jobs, it's formatting the jobs. It's got to go through the loops. So it's done this, gosh, 25 times already.
Nice. Nice.
Um, but it has to run through all of these different nodes. So it's checking for duplicates. You see the numbers here. That's how many times it's been running.
Hmm.
So it's trying to understand, do I have this job on my jobs in my jobs database or do I not? Because it won't have the same thing twice. So it's starting to trickle in.
Amazing. That's so cool. And then basically it takes like when these jobs get populated, the next step is the briefing, right? It pulls all these in and then sends you the email.
It'll score them like this column score breakdown. It will do that second workflow next.
Okay.
And then after that, it will do all the matching, the contacts and the companies. So they haven't produced yet here. So those will run. And then I run the fourth workflow. That's if I want to get a referral message or, resume materials.
Yeah, that's more
Application.
manual, like when you decide that you want to, yeah, which makes sense.
All right. So if I go to my email, this one was sent to me this morning. It was sent to me, and it'll look like this. It'll say good morning, and then it'll also just anywhere whatever the text is, it'll tell me what new jobs are. So I found 7 new opportunities for you,
Nice.
and all this stuff. And then if I scroll down here, this is where my morning briefing is located, and I just click on
Good
that.
morning, Renee. I've got your daily job briefing ready to
Love it.
go.
Love it. Nice.
And it starts. So
Perfect. This is so cool, Renee. Like it's like we talked about before. Like so much of this is the stuff that people hate doing, like the finding of the companies, the deciding if they're a good fit, the resume personalization, and even the outreach. It's like uncomfortable. And so having the template and just knowing that you just have to make a few tweaks and pressing send. I mean, you're offloading all the most difficult parts of the job search. Not to say that like what's left is all rosy and fun, but it's a lot easier when you have more energy and when you've offloaded that. And so I'm so grateful that you shared this with us. And to kind of recap everything that I heard you say here, is that for anybody listening that wants to build this out, the first step is going to your preferred AI, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and just saying, hey, here's what I want to build. Like this is, I watched this YouTube video and this person, Renee, built this whole system that does X, Y, and Z things. And I want to build it in N8N. So what tools would I need? And then I think the best thing to say is what's the very first step that I should take? Like, what's the first workflow I should build? And it'll give you the output. And then you get everything set up and you start with that first workflow. And to your point, like even from the first node, that trigger node, it's like take the screenshot, put it into the AI and say, how do I set this up? And then once you have the setup, do it again and say, is this set up correctly? Even try to include some like the output data. And then just rinse and repeat as you move through the workflows. And then you start stacking the workflows on top of each other. And eventually, over time, like first you offload finding the jobs. Then you offload finding and scoring the jobs. And then you offload and like rinse and repeat. You just keep offloading more steps until you have this really awesome cohesive system that you shared here. So I am so excited for people to try this. I'm so grateful to you for sharing it. And before we wrap up, I just love for you to share, where people can find you, whether it's LinkedIn or a website or anything else, if people want to connect with you, if they want to learn more, if they have, an opportunity, any of this stuff, like what's the best way for people to find you and kind of learn more about what you're doing?
People can reach me on LinkedIn. I have made my email address public, so you can email me as well. And I have a portfolio site, I'm going to be adding this case study to that portfolio site. But
Nice.
those are 3 different ways that you can reach out to me.
Awesome. Well, Renee, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. Best of luck with the search, and best of luck to everybody watching, whether it's building out the AI, or just the job search in general. We appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you so much.